Kia ora, good evening. I'm Hannah Wilkins. Dunedin was looking a little red on Wednesday as the Labour Party made their way through the city, making big announcements they hope will positively impact the region. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins has been on the Southern campaign trail, visiting some local spots on his upcoming election run.
Labour leader Chris Hipkins sporting his party's colour while meeting the next generation of New Zealand doctors. The Prime Minister made his way down south on Wednesday, visiting Dunedin as part of his campaigning efforts ahead of the October election. He made pledges to the city on behalf of the Labour Party, including a new plan to boost medical school places by a record number.
From the beginning of 2025, we'll add another 95 from the beginning of 2026, and another 95 from the beginning of 2027. That will ultimately increase the overall number of medical school places across the country by 335.
This goes against National's plan to build a third medical school in the Waikato, but Labour Health Minister Ayesha Verrill says it's something very important for the nation's healthcare.
All of those doctors striking today will tell you that a lot of the pressure on them is due to workforce shortages. We have to have a sustainable long-term plan to get us back on track.
Hipkins also opened Te Pukenga's new multi-million-dollar trade training centre, He Toki Kai Terika, with education leaders believing it will be a vital resource in meeting Dunedin's construction demands.
We didn't have enough builders, plumbers, electricians, you name your trade, and we pretty much haven't been training enough people in them for a long period of time. So we had to change that and we had to turn that around, and that is where the origins of Te Pukenga actually began.
The Prime Minister also visited iconic student flat Love Shack, sitting down with the occupants for donuts while chatting to them about healthy home standards. Continuing on his Dunedin visit, Hipkins made his way to the 2023 Class Act in the afternoon, presenting the city's future stars with their prestigious awards. In Dunedin, the South Today.
New Zealand's most beautiful small town may soon look a lot different as proposed plans for the urban development get underway. The Queenstown Lakes District Council are looking to increase property height limits in Arrowtown, but it's causing major frustration among concerned locals.
Showing the height of what could be, Arrowtown locals erected a giant pole last Saturday on Adamson Drive to show the height houses could be under the council proposed urban intensification. Following the government's national policy of urban development, the new height limits of medium density properties will increase to 11 metres plus a 1 metre pitch roof. And low density areas will increase to 8 metres, as shown by the black marker on the pole. Arrowtown Village Association member Mark Hosey says residents are either unaware or shocked that the proposal has got to the submission stage.
We have quite a big database of Arrowtown residents through other activities that we've got, and the feeling we get and the feedback we get is that they're aghast at what is happening or what is proposed.
Hosey says locals are concerned about how urban intensification will change the look and feel of the old mining town that the area prides itself on. There are also worries about the lack of infrastructure such as electricity and water that Arrowtown already struggles with.
You talk to most people, especially in the winter, they value the sun and you know, it's all about getting the sun, and buildings of this nature will destroy the sunlight and the amenity value that people have.
Hosey believes that after the next AVA meeting, the association will be putting in a submission opposing the changes. The group is also looking to put up a scaffold structure the same height as the pole, adding a semi-permanent display of the proposed building size. In Arrowtown, the South Today.
Dunedin has welcomed a new deputy mayor to the city after a rocky few days shook up the council. First-time councillor Cherry Lucas got the call up for the job less than a day after the former deputy resigned following complaints about the mayor.
All smiles as Dunedin Mayor Jules Raddick welcomes in his new number 2. Cherry Lucas has been officially appointed as Dunedin's new deputy mayor, less than 24 hours after councillor Sophie Barker resigned from the position. Lucas formerly worked in the Dunedin City Council's finance and corporate planning departments before being elected for a seat as a councillor last year.
I'm honoured to be asked, and I'm happy to support Jules, and I think that I can add something, for the good of the city.
Mayor Jules Raddick says he carefully selected the first-term councillor as his deputy, believing her skill set and outlook would make them a good team.
And I wanted to work with someone who was complementary to me, not so much someone who was the same as me. So there are similar reasons why I chose Sophie in the first place. Because of, a complementary skill set.
Barker announced her shock resignation on Monday after lodging a code of conduct complaint against Raddick following his minimising comments over racial abuse from a community board chairman. Barker has also laid a complaint against councillor Carmen Houlihan, who sent the former deputy a flurry of awful texts claiming her complaint against the mayor was politically motivated. Raddick has thanked Barker for her service as his deputy, respecting her decision to step down. The Code of Conduct complaint against the Mayor is still to be reviewed by Council. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Some of Queenstown's newest developments are still seen as rural properties, which is leaving some residents out of pocket. Locals are calling for a rezoning of some of the region's rural areas after their considerable growth hasn't been taken into consideration over a decade.
These areas aren't so rural anymore. Thanks to the efforts from a group of Queenstowners, New Zealand's Petition Committee wants urgent progress from the next government to rezone accommodation supplement areas across the country, giving them until December to respond. Queenstown Councillor Nikki Gladding says that this isn't just a local issue, with the proposed updated zoning laws able to help thousands of households still deemed rural across the country.
So obviously for anything to change, Parliament's going to need to change the law. And so I guess what we'd like to see ahead of the election is some recognition of the issue. It's not just a Queenstown issue, it's impacting other parts of the country, including Tauranga and Nelson as well.
Areas such as Shotover Country haven't had their boundaries updated in over 30 years, despite their population growing from 40 to 4,000 since 2013. Henley's Farms and Jack's Point are in the same boat, growing around 10 times their size over the last decade. Families supported by the supplement in rural areas can only receive $120 a week, while people in urban areas get up to $305.
For your standard family, you're talking about upwards of $200 a week difference from being considered in a rural section compared to living in an urban area.
The push was spearheaded by Andrew Wilson, Southland MP Joseph Mooney and Queenstown Community Housing Trust boss Julie Scott, who were all glad to see progress after 7 years of work. Wilson says no matter who's in government, they'll struggle to find a legitimate reason to ignore their recommendation. In Queenstown, the South Today.
A Dunedin cafe poured its last coffee and dished out its last scone this week after decades of service. While Civic Cafe struggled to handle the ripple effects of COVID-19, the owners are grateful for loyal support over the years.
Dunedin's Civic Cafe is closing its doors for good, saying goodbye after 40 years in the heart of the city. Owner Dee Tang took over the coffee shop in 2015, back when the cafe was much busier, having had 7 staff working for him in the Civic Plaza suite. He insists there were multiple reasons that have led him to close the establishment, but believes economic downturn was the major factor.
Too much it costs, too much just. So council helped us just on rent. It's great help. But I think the central government also needed to help the small business, especially under the hospitality business. Too hard.
Tang has had a difficult time trying to keep up with rent costs, along with recent increases to minimum wage, forcing him to bump prices up on their menu. He says despite all the issues the business has faced, they still have some regular customers who'd often come in for a coffee and a munch.
They supported us years, but sadly we have to disappoint them.
Tang's looking to retire with his wife next year, taking the time to reminisce on the good times they had at the cafe, with it set to shut up shop in mid-September. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Whaiakane, still to come on Southern Newsweek. The 30th annual Otago Polyfest got underway in fine style, celebrating Māori and Pacifica culture. And a Wanaka multi-sport athlete preps for the race of a lifetime. Tēnā koe, welcome back. As the country says kia ora to Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori, Māori Language Week, another cultural celebration got underway down south. Thousands of tamariki from across Otago gathered in Dunedin this week, showcasing their talents at the annual Polyfest.
The sweet sounds of Waiata ringing out through Dunedin's Edgar Centre. The 2023 Otago Polyfest swung into action on Monday, with around 140 schools and early childhood centres from across the region set to take to the stage throughout the week. The 5-day event gives the 4,500 tamariki a chance to get involved with Māori and Pasifika performances, teaching children about these cultures for the past 30 years.
A group of teachers got together and decided in 1993 that they were going to have a time together to exchange and share Māori and Pacific performances. And so this is 30 years of that.
This year's Polyfest included a new area called The Village, which added new food stalls, lounge areas and a health clinic to the event. General Manager Pip Laufiso says the festival has grown massively over the past 3 decades, with the children still inspiring her with their performances on stage.
Every time you see our children putting all that passion in, enjoying what they're doing, remembering all of their songs, being excited about being here is the most joyful and uplifting motivation.
Otago Polyfest wraps up on Friday after a week of the region's youth, ranging from toddlers all the way to teenagers, showcasing their multicultural talents. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A Wanaka multi-sport athlete pushed himself to the absolute limit last weekend as he looked to gain the world title he's been working towards for a decade. Braden Curry headed off to the Ironman World Champs, ready to race in what he's calling the pinnacle event of his career.
Braden Curry polishing up his bike, ready for the race of a lifetime. The Wanaka athlete is a long way from home as he prepares for the upcoming Ironman World Championships in France. The city of Nice is hosting the triathlon race for the first time, set up to push the athletes' bodies to the limit, competing in swimming, running and cycling.
The course is pretty epic, definitely going to absolutely tear some people to pieces, probably including myself, but I expect that to be the case, so I'll be ready to go pretty deep on this one.
The gruelling 226-kilometre course starts with a swim in the Mediterranean Sea, followed by a steep bike ride through the French mountains, finishing off with a marathon-length run along the waterfront. Curry has been injury-free during the build-up to the race, putting everything he has into his 9-week training camp in Noosa and St Moritz.
It's World Championships, so the best of the best are here. Everyone's put everything into it. You know that no one's turning up as if it's just a secondary race or an easy week to test the legs, so it's going to be pretty exciting.
The VinFast Ironman World Championships is set to dive into action on Sunday, with Curry hoping to improve on his 3rd place podium from last year, gunning for the world title. In Nice, the South Today.
A Southland curling club has added to their winning streak following their 3rd straight triumph at the Gore Curling Club competition. Ardlassa took out the 10-team year-long championship, with their consistency just edging them ahead.
All eyes on the target, looking to hit a shot rock right on the button. The Gore Curling Club competition final was held on Thursday night, with Ardlassa sweeping their way through the competition once again. The top 4 teams have been battling for the title all year, with it being a tightly contested fight for the top spot throughout the whole comp.
We've got 10 teams in our competition, and we do 2 round-robin games, so there's 18 games in the round-robin, and then we have a semi-final and final, and between the top 4 teams.
Curling Group Coordinator Brian Dillon, who also played for Ardlassa, says consistency across the whole season was key for their 3rd title. The squad of 7 players had a hard-fought battle with Riversdale in the final, scoring 4 stones in the final end to secure them the win 11-5.
This year it was very, very close right till the very end of the top. Any one of the top 4 teams could have won it.
Ardlassa were able to take home trophies for winning the round-robin competition, also for being the top scoring team across their stellar season. In Gore, the South Today.
Netball in Christchurch will have a new home soon, once the new purpose-built facility opens next month. The all-weather sports complex is tracking on time, nearly ready to become the South Island's premier indoor venue for sport and recreation.
A sneak peek behind the curtain at Christchurch's brand new indoor sports complex. The Christchurch Netball Centre's $16.5 million sports facility is nearing completion at Hillmorton's Napunawai Sports Hub. The much-needed 13,000 square metre all-weather venue is being constructed by Apollo Projects, creating a multi-purpose centre for the whole community to enjoy.
We've got 10 netball courts here and we've got a cafe. There's going to be a cafe on site. We've got an amazing mezzanine floor behind us that can be used for viewing netball and other things.
Houghton says they're currently in talks with other sporting organisations in Christchurch interested in using the facility. He insists netball at South Hagley Park will continue, but the pavilion has been sold to the Christchurch City Council to be used as a multicultural centre.
We've retained the lease for the 30 courts at Hagley Park, so for the next 2 years we'll still have that lease and then we'll reassess what sort of outdoor court space we need going forward.
Saturday netball at Hagley Park will still be an option, but a lot more games will be spread out at the new indoors venue throughout the week. The Christchurch Netball Centre has up to 6,000 members, with volunteer Wayne Hawker believing the new purpose-built facility will help to strengthen netball even more. He is also excited to be joining the committee after years of dedication to the sport.
I've given so much over the last 26 years to our club and the teams that I've coached and that, so joining the competitions committee that actually deliver the day-to-day running of netball, that is another new exciting journey for me.
A formal name for the new complex is yet to be confirmed, but is expected to be announced before the official opening in November. In Christchurch, the South Today.
Whai Akane, still to come on Southern Newsweek. Rainbows are shining in Wanaka for the town's first Pride Street Party, and young Southlanders get hands-on lessons with some of the best in the country ahead of a major competition. Wanaka rolled out the rainbow carpet over the weekend as the town got together to celebrate their diverse community. Hundreds of people turned out dressed in their most colourful clothing for the Pride Street Party, enjoying the glitz and glamour of the new event.
Getting their hands dirty with colours of the rainbow. It was a colourful spring afternoon in Wanaka on Saturday as the town held its first Pride Street Party. The history-making event was organised by Out and About Wanaka, celebrating the region's rich LGBTQI+ community. The Pride Street Party had a range of activities, food and entertainment, with hundreds of people celebrating the rainbow at the Lake Wanaka Centre.
They can look for drag queens, fantastic queens. They can also look for some aroha and some love and some mindfulness. They can learn and educate themselves on the wider spheres of the LGBTQI kind of community.
People from all walks of life enjoyed the festivities, with some holding the cause close to their hearts.
It took 45 years for me to realise that I can actually do and be whatever I want to be. And this community is so important.
Harkis says the event had a great turnout, with funds raised from the party going towards supporting rainbow youth in the area. In Wanaka, the South Today.
Young Southlanders rallied with some of the best in the country as a major international tennis competition made its way down to the deep south. The Davis Cup started this week in Otago for the first time in decades, with organisers using the opportunity to help grow the next generation of the sport.
Learning from the best in the country, these young pupils are getting up close with some of tennis's top talents. Southlanders will have the chance to watch some Kiwi players in action at this year's Davis Cup, which is set to take place at the ILT Stadium for the first time in around 20 years. Tennis NZ feels it's a great opportunity to promote the sport, offering up the chance for around 50 Waihopai school children to train with the world-class players.
The children have looked forward to this for quite a few weeks now and are enjoying the opportunity again to develop some tennis skills and hopefully maybe look at some future New Zealand tennis players.
The children were taught a range of basic skills and techniques, giving them a feel for the game as they learn from New Zealand's best of the best.
It's been a lot of fun for us to get out here and
see the community of Invercargill and enjoy their hospitality here, and we're giving a little bit back.
Organisers have been working hard in preparation for the upcoming competition, with around 3,000 fans expected to attend each day for some back and forth action.
We're just getting kids out here and trying to have some fun with them and show them what tennis is, and hopefully they'll come out and watch us on the weekend, and it's a lot of fun for us.
Tennis NZ is hoping the tournament will help grow the sport across Southland, as New Zealand look to perform in front of a home crowd for their first match against Thailand on Friday. In Invercargill, the South Today.
Thousands of keen athletes enjoyed the rare Dunnes Stunner over the weekend, soaking in the warm weather by competing in the Dunedin Marathon. But one runner didn't just have winning on his mind, dressed to impress as he raised awareness for a rare disease.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a superhero on the run for a good cause. More than 2,500 enthusiastic runners put their endurance skills to the test on Sunday, taking part in the annual Dunedin Marathon. But it wasn't just getting to the finish line driving Isaac Walker. He decided to run the race to raise awareness for a cause close to his heart.
I donate plasma and have been for about 4 years since Josh, my son here, got diagnosed with a disease called Kawasaki disease.
Walker's son Josh is now recovered from the rare disease thanks to a treatment infusing immunoglobulin from donated plasma. He says he'll always feel indebted to the donors who saved his son's life, dressing up as those superheroes, hoping to educate others on the importance of donating plasma.
There's an ongoing shortage for blood and plasma, and as time goes on, I think both those demands will grow as well.
Walker completed the 42-kilometre race in 3 hours and 45 minutes, with a record number of participants crossing the finish line for the Emerson's Dunedin Marathon this year. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Two Queenstown martial artists are returning home with the silverware after putting their skills to the test across the ditch. The duo competed in the Australian-Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Junior Champs, shaking off some nerves as they stepped up in the competition.
These two girls are grappling their way to the top, returning to Queenstown last month wrapped in medals. 16-year-old Molly Takawa was crowned champ at the Australian-Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Junior Championships in Melbourne. She won gold in the Nogi division, securing the win within 9 seconds. She also took out second place in the gi competition. 12-year-old Liberty Hyde, also from Queenstown, joined her resort town counterpart for a podium finish, taking home bronze in the hotly contested Yellow G division. They both felt the competition across the ditch was tougher than what they've faced in New Zealand, which had their nerves shook before hitting the mat.
The hardest challenge for me to go and compete over there is just walking through the door to go and see all of those people there. It's intimidating.
Both girls are reigning national champions in their age brackets, believing their hard work was behind their Aussie success. Hyde said she trained almost every day for 2 weeks at the Te Manawa gym, leading to a 3rd place finish.
The hardest training should always be on the practice mat. Once you go to the comp mat, it should never be hard there because you put all the hard effort in here.
The pair are now switching their focus towards their next competition, joining the Te Manawa contingent to compete at the National Gi Champs in Auckland next month. In Queenstown, the South Today.
That wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news and videos from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. And you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube and the South Today NZ on Facebook to catch our news bulletins on demand. We'll see you again next week. Mā te wā.
Public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On Air.